in on the cleanup efforts. Plus, the race for the White House is heating up, how the two campaigns are preparing for their widely anticipated presidential debate. And a special weather IQ amid the Olympics. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy shows us how weather affects soccer. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon at 2:30. I'm Nick Sertivant. We're continuing to follow today's top stories. But first, let's take a look outside. Here's a live look over uptown Charlotte. It is a beautiful day, pretty good compared to yesterday. Let's bring in meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees. And Brittany, the big question on a lot of folks' mind, how's the weekend looking?
It is looking a lot better, Nick. In fact, we're getting a little bit of those clearer skies wrapping around Debbie as the storm moves away from the Carolinas. And for that reason, things are looking good. Yesterday, though, we know not so good. We had a lot of significant rain. It was the 14th wettest day on record for all of Charlotte since 1878. And of course, a record value too for the day. Almost 4¼ inches in just one day. It's about 2 months of rain in a 24-hour period. Good news is, though, flood alerts are out of our area. They did cancel out as of this morning. There are some still on the eastern side of the Carolinas, but of course they had more rain and also some of that surge as well. So no surprise that those flood alerts remain. But look at Doppler radar right now. Everyone is dry and quiet. We do still have a few flood advisories from some local lakes and streams, but these will also start to settle and kind of slowly go down as we go through the next 24 hours or so. Still, though, significant flood warnings off to our east, as you saw still that flood watch in place. So rain chance wise, I know a lot of people got significant rain yesterday wondering, will it rain once again? Well, low in rain chances for the rest of today, and it stays that way through the entirety of the weekend. So I'm not expecting any significant flooding for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Rain chances eventually do ramp up as we head into next week. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, where Debbie is now and where the storm's expected to go over the next few days. That's coming up.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. In just the last hour, we learned the deadly tornado produced by Debbie in Wilson County was an EF3. The National Weather Service says it had winds that reached 140 miles per hour. That tornado ripped through nearly a dozen homes and a middle school. A 60-year-old man died after his home collapsed. And today, Debbie leaves behind damage from floods, high winds, and tornadoes. Right now, Governor Roy Cooper says about 20,000 people are still without power statewide. That's down from nearly 500,000 just yesterday. Cooper recognized the work of emergency crews at a press conference earlier today.
I am so grateful for the efforts of our first responders, as well as the resilient spirit of the people who have been impacted by severe weather. Teams will be there to help as you recover.
And Cooper says the impacts from the storm are not over and urges residents to keep listening to local officials for updates. Right now, a man accused of killing his wife with eye drops is in court. Joshua Hunsucker was first arrested back in December of 2019 in Gaston County, but was released on bail. Today, prosecutors are aiming to revoke his bond at a hearing on his newest charges. We have a crew inside the courtroom and we'll update you as soon as we get new information. Right now, we're learning new details about a deadly crash on I-85 South in Cabarrus County. North Carolina State troopers say 27-year-old Arlexia Taylor was having car trouble early this morning when she stopped in the far left lane going southbound. Taylor got out of the car to check her vehicle when she was hit by a truck. Taylor died at the scene. The driver of the truck was taken to the hospital, but he's expected to be okay. No charges have been filed at this time. UNC Chapel Hill's new chancellor will start next week. Lee Roberts, right here on your screen, has served as interim since January. The decision follows months of interviews. Roberts starts Monday. Well, turning now to the race for the White House, Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump now agreeing to at least one debate this fall as we head toward November. NBC's Garrett Hake has more.
After weeks of uncertainty, the stage is now set for a presidential debate showdown between Vice President Harris and former President Trump next month. The former president announcing at a news conference he's agreed to a debate against Harris on September 10th, backing off online threats not to show, and saying he's also up for 2 additional September showdowns.
We'd like to do 3 debates.
Harris non-committal on additional debates.
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it, and Hope he shows up.
Mr. Trump's own news conference packed with personal attacks and falsehoods, like this claim that his January 6th speech in Washington drew a bigger crowd than Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Nobody spoke into crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more.
This as polls show the race tightening nationwide. To what do you attribute her rising in the polls?
She's a woman. She represents certain groups of people. But I will say this. When people find out about her, I think she'll be much less.
Harris shrugging off Trump's criticisms.
I was too busy talking to voters. I didn't hear them.
But she did stop to defend her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, from GOP attacks over his military record.
Listen, I praise anyone who has presented themselves to serve our country. And I think that we all should.
The Trump campaign has seized on past comments like this.
We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war?
Walz served in the National Guard for 24 years and was deployed to support the operation in Afghanistan, stationed in Italy. Nothing in Walz's service record indicates he fired a weapon in combat, but the Harris campaign noting he, quote, carried, fired, and trained others to use weapons of war innumerable times.
In just the last 2 hours, we learned a Waxhaw woman was found dead at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. First responders were called to the airport yesterday morning after getting a report of someone trapped in a machine at one of their terminals. 57-year-old Virginia Vinton was found unresponsive in a restricted area. Emergency responders say Vinton was entangled in a baggage conveyor belt. Police are still investigating. Today, Delta Airlines says it plans to take legal action against CrowdStrike. It comes as impacted travelers sued Delta this week for how it managed last month's network failure. Delta says CrowdStrike's mishap cost them more than $500 million, but the security company denies it was solely responsible for the thousands of disrupted flights. And here in Charlotte, we're continuing to see delays. So far today, more than 220 flights have been delayed, with 24 more canceled. If you have to fly today, make sure you check your flight status. Well, happening right now, Olympics host nation France is taking on Spain for the gold in men's soccer. But tomorrow, the U.S. women's soccer team will take on Spain for a chance at gold.
Really exciting stuff. And while we can't tell you who's going to win, we can tell you both of these games will be impacted by the weather over in Paris. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy is raising our weather IQ today on how weather affects the game of soccer.
Whether you're an amateur soccer player or actually good at soccer, weather affects the game. With the help of Charlotte FC, let's raise that weather IQ. Temperature. When it's a colder day on the pitch, your muscles aren't as pliable, so you definitely need to stretch as much as possible, or else you could risk injury. However, when it's hot, you have another risk. Your endurance is down. Your heart beats faster, and it takes longer to recover, so players sprint less and pass more. Warmer air doesn't affect you, it also affects the ball as well.
Soccer balls are filled with air that contracts and expands with temperature change, where the pressure of the ball changes by 1 psi for every 10 degrees. The warmer it is, the more the air expands within the ball.
This has more force when it's kicked, and more bounce when it lands.
Also, when the ball is in the air, warmer air has less drag since it's less dense, thus more big kicks in the game. Wind.
Obviously, winds affect the game, where it can knock a ball that usually is on target way off target.
Where teams could shift to short ball, meaning short passes instead of long kicks.
And it's terrible for corner kicks.
Rain and sun. Heavy rain affects the pitch. A bad pitch can make a good player look bad, causing them to slip and be off target. But when the pitch is just wet and not a muddy mess, it actually makes passes on the ground move faster. So when aiming the ball, skidding it along the wet ground actually makes it harder for the goalkeeper to stop it. Lastly, the sun of course makes it tough to see the ball when it's in the air, but it can also change the pitch. A wet ground to start the game could be dry by the second half, meaning that pass won't make it as far, where you need to make some adjustments.
A big thanks to Charlotte FC for helping raise our weather IQ. I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy with WCNC Charlotte.
My takeaway from that entire story was Chris being hilarious.
Yeah.
And secondly, that all of our local teams need to really use weather to their advantage and know what the forecast is going to be.
Maybe
we can help with that.
Maybe they need to sign Chris Mulcahy first, and then he can be like the team meteorologist part-time, because we still need him here.
Yeah.
And he can play some.
Sign him, but we love you, Chris. That was a great story. Love all the stories that he does with Weather IQ. So let's talk forecast here. I would say that the pitch is probably going to be wet from all the rain that we had yesterday, but thankfully we're starting to dry out over the next few days. In fact, even with the sun out today, all that evaporation is going to help really, really quickly, but also cause it to be very, very humid. Here's where Debbie is right now. The storm continuing to push away from the Charlotte area. Notice, though, all the heavy rain of areas to the east here toward eastern parts of New York, near Binghamton, Scranton, Pennsylvania, all the way up to our Albany. So post-tropical cyclones oftentimes do impact most areas in the Northeast. Eventually, it is heading up into Canada as it continues its trek to the north and northeast. We are all done with our Debbie impacts locally. However, we do have some rain still left over from some of those outer bands near the immediate coast. As that low pressure system continues to pull away from us, we will have a few spotty areas of rain heading toward tonight and again into your weekend, but significantly lower than what we had 24 hours ago. No local flash flood warnings in effect. Those are over on the eastern side, but we do have a few local flood advisories. So if you do live near a lake, a river, a stream, make sure you're keeping a close eye on that water rise, especially if you're going to be out and about heading into this weekend. Temperature-wise today, something we haven't seen in a few days. We're back in the upper 80s to near 90. Again, all of that sunshine you see starting to mix in here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. The sun will start to evaporate a lot of that water we had yesterday, but remember, as the evaporation happens, that's what helps the air be very, very humid. And that's actually why our heat index values for this afternoon could peak in the upper 90s to near 100. Same song and dance for tomorrow. These are below heat advisory criteria, but it'll still be very hot and humid, so be mindful of that next 2 days. Eventually, we'll go down to the upper 80s, lower 90s by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We'll see a slight drop in dew points, probably not significant though, so I wouldn't say it's going to be weeks that we want to run outside in the middle of the day. It's nothing like that. Futurecast showing those few spotty showers for the rest of today. A few more popping up overnight into tomorrow. Again, showers will be few and far between. We're not seeing much. Our best rain chance really over the next 72 hours is Saturday night into very early Sunday morning, with just a few pockets of heavy rain, gusty winds, as they always do happen. Probably the driest day of the weekend is going to be on Sunday. Now, these maps we've shown you the last few days have been lit up with red, a lot of yellow, even some pink. It is low now for today, our excessive rain impact, and this does clear out of our area as we enter Saturday and Sunday. So today, at least the last day in this batch of really rainy days that we have any kind of color on our map for our excessive rain impacts. Hate to be the bearer of mediocre news, I guess, but we do have another area of interest in the tropics. We're watching this tropical wave still well to the central part of the Atlantic. Has a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. We'll keep a close eye on it, but as we always say in hurricane season, y'all know it takes a while to watch these systems, just like with Debbie. Our next storm name on the list is going to be Ernesto. It has actually happened a lot of times since 1976, but has just never been bad enough to cause any kind of retirement. So that name, once again, is going to be reused. Remember, these names do get reused every 6 years unless they are retired. So that's the next name for our list. Here's your Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. You can pretty much see everything we just talked about. Tomorrow, going to see those more mediocre rain chances there toward the afternoon and evening. Driest day is going to be on Sunday, which is also the closing ceremony of the Olympics. Really, I would say excited to watch the closing ceremony, but I'm not excited for it to be over because it's been so much fun to watch those athletes. But off and on rain chances increasing a little bit as we enter the upcoming week, although no day looks to be a complete washout. So no day over the next 7 days, Nick, are we seeing anything close to what we had yesterday.
And Brittany, I second that emotion about the Olympics. It's been so good. I don't want it to end.
So good. And so many good athletes.
Yeah. And speaking of the Olympics, as we head into the final days of competition, let's take a look at the latest medal count. Team USA still dominating the overall medal count with triple digits, 107 podium finishes so far. China holds strong in second with 77 overall medals, and Great Britain is now in third, just ahead of France. Well, one of Team USA's medals is thanks to the Queen City's very own Anna Cockrell. Cockrell winning silver in the 400-meter hurdles final. All her hard work paying off since that heartbreaking disqualification in Tokyo. Today, Cockrell sharing how it felt when she crossed the finish line.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew that if I executed my race plan that my coach and I had talked about, it was going to be a good one. It was going to be a fast one. So I just went for it. I knew I had executed my race, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure I've got silver. I'm pretty sure. But I saw my name up there, and I was like, holy crap, I can't believe it.
I love that reaction. And as we speak, CJ Nicholas is competing to win bronze in Taekwondo. Nicholas is originally from California, but now he trains right here in Charlotte. This is his first Olympics. We're in the last stretch of the Olympics, as I mentioned earlier, and tomorrow Team USA men's basketball will play for its 5th straight gold medal. They take the floor against host nation France. It's a highly anticipated rematch from the gold medal game in Tokyo. There are 2 players with connections to the Carolinas to keep your eye on. High Point's Bam Adebayo from my hometown, High Point, stand up, and Charlotte native and 4-time NBA champ Steph Curry. Curry scored 36 points to help bring Team USA back from a 17-point deficit in their game against Serbia yesterday. And these last 2 weeks of the Paris Olympics, I mean, they have just flown by. On Sunday, gold medalists Katie Ledecky from swimming and Nick Mead from rowing will lead Team USA as flag bearers for the closing ceremony. And I got to ask this. I asked Chris early at 10 a.m. favorite moments from the Olympics so far.
There have been a lot because I'm a big swimming fan.
Yeah.
Of course, the U.S. dominates in swimming. Gymnastics has been awesome. I actually think one of my favorite moments was when Simone and Jordan bowed down
cool.
for the gold medal winner from Brazil. It was just showing that these athletes all compete together, you know, whether it's the Olympics or the World Championships, and they get to know each other and they have respect for each other. And I think that was a really cool, very humble act.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And she really appreciated it. You could see that in her face.
You have an appreciation for these athletes. I'm thinking of Quincy Hall yesterday. He's coming down, he's finishing, I believe that was a 400 meters final. He won the gold medal. I mean, I didn't think he was going to win, and then he came back, and you could see that heart and determination, all that hard work paying off. And just hours ago, listen to this, Brittany.
I'm listening. Ears are open.
5-time Grammy winner, her, will sing the U.S. national anthem at Stade de France as part of the handover for the Los Angeles Summer Games in 2028. She's very, very talented. I mean, deserves a gold medal in singing.
I don't know if that's at the Summer Olympics, maybe next
Now,
time.
if they were giving out gold medals for singing, you know. You
would not get it if that's what you're trying to imply.
I would at least get bronze. A bronze medal, Brittany?
No comment. I don't want to ruin our friendship.
Oh, man. She just told me I was a great singer just last week, guys.
I think I said okay. Who knows?
All right.
I'm really excited, though, for Los Angeles 2028.
Okay, I am too. Okay, we can agree on that. We can. Okay, all right.
And agree the fact that we're friends.
Friendship back on. Well, thank you for joining us for the news at 2:30. You can find these stories and more on our website or on the WCNC mobile app. We'll be back with more of today's top headlines at 6 here on WCNC Charlotte.
Noise she can't escape.
I'm glad the rain is slowing down quite a bit.
The damages from the storm leaving her floors soaked, home destroyed.
We cannot even stay here tonight.
And her car barricaded under debris.
So the car's parked right there.
Combs says after accepting the